Today on Rappler.
Because in the end, it's really the investment that pays us, the employment generation. If investment does not grow, so will employment creation.
Yes. Socioeconomic Secretary Arsenio Balisacan answers how progress will trickle down to the poor. The SM Group merges its mall and property units, creating the country's biggest property group. And Associate Justice Teresita de Castro calls the Supreme Court order on party list proclamations an overbroad restriction. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Taguig police confirm a loud explosion rocks a posh enclave in Taguig and sends shockwaves to different parts of the city. The explosion happened Friday in Serendra, a first-class commercial and residential area in Taguig City. Witnesses report the explosion around 8 p.m. Friday. We have Floy Ketchi Pablo on the line with us for updates on this developing story. She is there at the scene. Floy, what did you see?
Well, actually, initially when I heard the explosion, I didn't really notice a lot of the debris. But when we went closer, the first thing that we saw was a cargo van that was totally destroyed. We couldn't even tell what happened to the driver. And then across the street, nakita namin na may unit sa Serendra on the third floor, corner unit siya, na destroyed din. And it looked like doon nanggaling yung explosion.
Nanggaling yung explosion sa loob ng Serendra mismo?
Yes, dun sa unit.
And then when you saw that, what did you feel? How did people react when it happened?
Actually, strangely, the people were calm. When the explosion was heard, the last ng shockwave eh. So initial reaction was to run away from where the explosion came from. And then in a matter of minutes, all the guards of Serendra were running towards the direction of the explosion. And then the people, lumapit na sila, pero walang chaos. No one was panicking. Siguro everyone just wanted to find out what happened and where the explosion came from.
So you heard a sound and you felt a shockwave, is that correct?
Yes. Pati yung mga windows ng mga establishments. Kasi I was just in front of Cafe Mary Grace. So that was just around the corner. Siguro a few steps away. Tapos yung mga windows nung Serendra, talagang nag-rattle sila sobrang lakas.
There's no fire, there's nothing that seemed to indicate any fire from the pictures that we're seeing now. Did you see, is there any kind of insight to where the explosion came from and what could have caused it?
Actually, yun nga, from the looks of it and based on sa mga information from the guards din, na yung explosion came from the unit sa Serendra. Kasi yung cargo van was right across nung unit. So, initially when we thought na yung cargo van yung sumabog, when we saw the unit, parang it didn't really make sense na yung explosion would come from the cargo van. Looked like something was blown out of the unit, kaya sumabog rin yung cargo van. Tinamaan na lang siya.
Is there any kind of official announcement from people in the area, from the police, from the guards?
No, there wasn't.
And how do you
They
feel?
weren't really giving out information.
How do you feel now being there?
Medyo calm na. Kasi, well, yeah, at first, initial thought na talaga, I thought it was a bomb na terrorist attack or something. Pero when I saw that, yeah, everything was secured and secure agad yung mga guards, more on na lang, a bit rattled na lang. But I'm glad that it wasn't anything serious.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Floy Ketchi Pablo. In the middle of the scene, you're seeing pictures that are coming in from social media. You see the debris littered on the street that Floy had described. She described a third-floor explosion that blew out the glass and hit the truck that was on the street. And sorry, my last question, Floy. What about any injuries? You talked about the driver, and no one seems to know what happened to the driver, but did you see anyone injured?
Yeah, there were a couple of people coming out of Serendra, and it looked like they were coming from the pool area. If they had towels on, they had their swimsuits on. But it wasn't anything serious. Parang tinamaan lang rin sila nung debris sa arm lang. And there was already an ambulance waiting outside, so pinasok sila agad ng mga guards.
Okay, thank you so much, Floyd Pablo from Serendra. A day after the government announces the Philippine economy's stunning 7.8% GDP growth for the first quarter of 2013, Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan says a boost in the manufacturing sector is key to job generation. On Thursday, the National Statistical Coordination Board reports the 7.8% rate is the highest so far in Asia. NSCB says the strong expansion of the manufacturing and construction sectors drove GDP growth.
Let me put it this way. If you look at the production side of the economy,
yes.
All right, indeed, for many years, it was the services sector leading the growth process.
Yes.
A big chunk of the economy was essentially services. We are conscious of getting the industry back, getting the manufacturing back as an important driver
yes.
of the economy. And so, as we succeed in sustaining that performance of manufacturing, of industry that we achieve in the first quarter, that would change the structure of the economy.
Yes.
It will become more and more industry dependent.
At a press briefing Thursday, Balisacan says job generation will be key to inclusive growth.
We can create jobs because in the end, it's really the investment that pays us the employment generation. If investment does not grow, so will employment creation.
Yes.
So my sense is that now that our own domestic investors are themselves now investing,
yes.
that sends a signal to foreign investors that the house in the Philippines is finally in order.
Balisacan says the government should address power problems to ensure continued economic growth.
If there is any single constraint or threat, you may call it threat to the sustainability of the growth is the power.
Yes.
But we have lined up this strategy, the program for power development, and the way that the scenarios shown to us that we do have the capacity to sustain the needs of the power needs of the economy.
Because
indeed, we could be growing faster if that problem is not is not there.
Balisacan also points to the potential of the manufacturing, tourism, and agriculture sectors to boost the economy.
Three things. I'd like to see the revival of our manufacturing.
Okay.
I'd like to see the tourism playing a big part.
Tourism has increased, but it's still low compared to our
regions. And the potential is enormous.
Yes.
And then agriculture, because agriculture is where 2/3 of your poor are located, and 1/3 of your labor force, and most of them are unskilled, are in agriculture. We need to increase the productivity there.
For our social media post of the day, at Dead Meow Bounds tweets what he thinks we should do to keep improving the economy. He says, quote, develop innovation, research and development, and work it with our tourism drives. Doing this will increase our manufacturing drivers. Let's go back to the explosion that happened in Serendra. Now we have Rappler's Josh Villanueva on the line for updates. Josh, where are you and what are you seeing?
Yes, Maria, we're here at the site of the explosion. Right, it's actually in a street called McKinley Parkway, in the middle of the parking lot of Market Mall and Serendra. The building across me right now is a Serendra 2. It's a residential unit. It appears that it's a residential unit where the explosion came from. In front of me is an Abinson delivery truck and a Starex van. The Abinson truck smashes into the Starex van. We are receiving conflicting reports right now from initially the members of the fire department, which was the first to respond. They say anywhere between 2 to 3 casualties of this explosion. It is unclear what the cause of the explosion was. Right now on the street, the debris is all over the place. Some bystanders say that the explosion came from that unit up on Serendra 2. Debris flew in the direction of the road and hit the vehicles on the street, which is what we're seeing in front of you. In front of me at the moment. Yes,
Josh,
Maria.
can I ask you, you talked about 2 to 3 casualties. Are you talking casualties or injuries?
We are talking about casualties, deaths. So they say there were 2 or 3 people inside the Abinson delivery truck. It is unclear if there was anyone inside the residential unit. Right now, we can see that there are lights up there. There's basically a hole in the wall at the moment, and we can see members of the bomb squad at the unit inspecting the damage. Maria?
Have you spoken to any first responders at the scene? Guards or any of the firemen, any of the people around?
So we spoke to one of the guards who was actually off duty today. He's one of these barangay security people, and he did say that the incident happened somewhere between 8 and 8:30 this evening. We also spoke to someone who was in the area, shopping in the area. They heard the explosion. A lot of shop windows broke because of the strength of the explosion, and immediately people have started to respond. Right now we have the scene of the crime operatives are here. Members of the Taguig police are also here, but they have been unavailable to speak to media as of the moment.
Have they set up, we're seeing the initial pictures that were set up on social media, but have they set up any kind of police lines?
There is a police line, actually 2. They've actually moved, there's a police line right by the street, and also they've kept moving back the police line further down the market parking lot. We're receiving reports that the police will hold a press conference very shortly, and we will stand by for updates.
And the last question, Josh, you talked about a possible 2 to 3 casualties, the people who were in the vehicles that we've seen in some of these pictures really smashed. What's being done for them?
So we have, earlier before we were asked to move away, we still saw some limbs inside, and this was just, it was rather dark, Maria, but we did see what looked like limbs.
So there were people, yeah.
There were people inside. So we were asked to move away, but there's an ambulance here. They have responded, and it is unclear at the moment if they have been able to get the bodies out of the wreck of the Abinson truck.
Thank you so much, Josh Villanueva, live from Serendra. We'll keep checking in with you. The SM Group consolidates its mall and property units and dislodges Ayala Land Inc. as the country's biggest property group. On Friday, officials of Henry C. Sr.-led holding firm SM Investments Corp. announces the merger of SM Prime Holdings Inc., SM Development Corporation, Highlands Prime Incorporated, and SM Land Incorporated. SMIC officials say the combined current market capitalization of these firms is estimated at 591 billion pesos. The move allows SM Prime to dislodge Ayala Land as the biggest listed property firm. The market values of Ayala Land at 461.4 billion pesos. The merged firm creates a full-range property development arm that would combine residential, hotel, office, and shopping mall businesses into one. On Friday morning, the 4 individually listed SM units voluntarily stopped trading of their shares ahead of the announcement. The approval of at least 2/3 of the stockholders and the Securities and Exchange Commission will be needed for a reorganization. Henry C. Jr. will be chairman, while his brother Hans will sit as president of the merged entity. Supreme Court Associate Justice Teresita Leonardo de Castro slams the court order stopping the proclamation of winners in the party list race. De Castro says Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno could have imposed, quote, an overbroad restriction on the Commission on Elections. On Wednesday, the court stopped the poll body from proclaiming more winners after disqualified party list group senior citizens appealed their case before the court. De Castro says the temporary restraining order should only cover senior citizens, not the other party list groups that COMELEC disqualified and appealed before the Supreme Court. But in a letter responding to De Castro, Sereno says she wanted to prevent, quote, irreparable injury if no vacancy is left for the senior citizens party. The Office of the Ombudsman is building an electronic database of submissions of statements of assets, liability, and net worth, or SALNs. Once completed, it will be easier to conduct lifestyle checks and to access the forms. In a statement, the Ombudsman says the project aims to improve transparency and enforcement of the SALN requirements. On Friday, Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales and World Bank Country Director Motoo Kinishi signed a grant amounting to $230,000 or about 9.2 million pesos to computerize the system. Republic Act 6713 requires government officials to submit their SALN every year. In the first completed impeachment trial in the Philippines, dismissed Chief Justice Renato Corona was convicted in 2012 this month for failing to declare his assets in his SALN. Rappler's editor-at-large, Marites Vitug, says China's reputation is falling. She says the nation's bullying tactics gets negative reactions from the international community. Here's her video blog.
China, oh China, how does a small developing country deal with a global giant over a territorial dispute? That is the paramount and most vexing foreign policy question the Philippines faces today. Partly, the answer is in international law. China claims most of the South China Sea, which lies within our country's EEZ. Manila has brought its case to a UN tribunal, but Beijing has refused to participate. The Chinese believe they are right and will not accept any challenge to their position. After all, they think they're the center of the universe. But some experts call on China to stop acting like a bully and care about its standing in the global community. Jerome Cohen, a China scholar and law professor at NYU, said in a recent speech, when you're seen to be a violator of international law, you don't win many votes from the world community. We're already seeing this. A major global poll by the BBC shows that positive views of China fell sharply around the world in 2012. After improving for several years, views of China sank to their lowest level since polling began in 2005. Is China listening? This is Marites Vitug for Vitug Vlogs.
Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 3, the Pakistani Taliban confirms its second-in-command died in a U.S. drone strike in the country's lawless tribal northwest. Commander Waliur Rehman and 5 others were killed. Washington accuses Rehman of organizing attacks against U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan. He is also wanted for a suicide attack on an American base in Afghanistan in 2009, which killed 7 CIA agents. Rehman had a $5 million government bounty on his head. At number 5, Myanmar reaches a preliminary ceasefire agreement with ethnic minority Kachin rebels after 2 years of fighting, which sparked international concern. Previous rounds of negotiations were held across the border in China. Meeting on home soil for the first time since the conflict flared in 2011, Kachin and government representatives signed a 7-point plan, which includes an agreement to stop fighting. The bloodshed in the northern state of Kachin overshadowed political changes as Myanmar emerges from decades of military rule. And at number 7, President Barack Obama's approval ratings take a hit as he deals with controversies over the Internal Revenue Service, Benghazi, and the seizure of journalists' phone records. On Thursday, the Quinnipiac poll says 49% of respondents had a negative opinion of Obama's job performance. 45% of respondents approved. The numbers are near the inverse of a May 1 poll where 48% approved of Obama's performance while 45% did not. The White House says the numbers are not affecting the president's work. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator. That's in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected Rappler's readers the most. If you look today, it's a very green day, partly probably because it's Friday, but also because of the good news from yesterday. At the center, the story that's gotten the most clicks, the most votes on the mood meter, Philippines surprises with 7.8% growth in the first quarter. You have 12% inspired and a whopping 83% happy. You're seeing Philippine competitiveness ranks jumps to 38, 79% happy. While we're looking at a very green mood navigator now, the explosion that happened just a little over an hour ago, an hour and a half ago, should be popping here soon, and you'll see that impact. Today, most people are happy. Well, that's Rappler's newscast for today, Friday, May 31, 2013. Stay tuned to Rappler for the latest on the explosion that happened in Serendra in Taguig City. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.